Here we go.
Let's do it.
This week in Elder Scrolls Online is brought to you by Elder Scrolls Online. For 20% off on your pre-order, just go to offergb.com/ESO. 20%.
Game Breaker TV.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Fridays. This week in MMO, or this week in SO. This week, episode 178, February 21st, 2013. No, scratch that. 14.
It's a year late, sir.
It's a year late. We're in the future. What's up, Mr. Bird? Joining me as always. What's happening?
Nothing much, sir. Excited about today. We kind of teased it last night, so.
Yep.
Last night was what? That was only like 6 hours ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
It was a late Game Breaker show.
We talked a bit about the Elder Scrolls Online on the Game Breaker show, but now we're going to talk about it in its full. So, I don't know. I guess we just start at the damn beginning and start talking with in a logical order of character creation. What are your thoughts? That's where you start. That's where you begin your Elder Scrolls adventure.
I'm
Really?
hopeful that there will be more options. Yeah, as far as just the actual customizations, but
What else do you
all in all,
want?
I can't say it's not.
There's like
I can't say it's
sliders
horrible.
everywhere. I'm gonna
Yeah,
go out
yeah,
and
but
say
the
it's probably one of
sliders-
the best character creations I've ever seen in an MMO.
Oh man, see now you got to take it there.
Who do
See,
you
I was
think is
just kinda,
better?
but then you got to take it there. Aeon does it better. Ion, if you prefer. Ion does it better. I
Nobody
don't
cares
like
about Ion.
the options are there in Elder Scrolls. I think I would like them to be more more diverse as far as the body. The face customization is spot on. It's great. I mean, you could do a ton of things. But the body, it just seemed that even with additional sliders, there wasn't too much variation in the bodies, except the actual skin tone. So I would like to see a little more there. But facial, okay, I'll go with you. They do a nice job there. Bodies, not so much.
So you basically want to make a nasty looking, fat, drunk dude completely with like an alien head and a big beer gut.
Exactly. I mean, what's wrong with making that type of character? I understand, okay, it's a fantasy-based game, so, okay, great. But there's fat guys in fantasy things, right? There's big husky girls
I
in
can see that.
fantasy games.
I could see there being maybe a little bit more latitude on some things like that. But I thought there were a lot more sliders and adjustments that I kind of anticipated. I didn't think they were going to give you that much freedom. I guess I agree that you've got the triangle where you can kind of move the dial, which kind of, makes it muscular, more thin. Maybe that could have a little bit more dialed in. But yeah, when you start getting to the details is where I really thought it stood out. I mean, the eyebrows, the pitching, I forget what they call it, but pitching of the eyebrows and squinting and the lips, and like you can really get in there and fine tune. It's not just like 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. It's like literally very minute detail, which I kind of personally really liked. I thought it was really good.
And I agree with you there. They got it going on all up in here. All up in here, they got it covered. I would have liked more customization with the body types, that's all.
I'll agree with you. I'll go with you there. You need to be able to be a fat guy. Like, you really can't do that, can you?
And Chad is pointing out APB had a pretty good character. The game, obviously, okay.
The game sucks.
The character creator was very robust there, too.
Yeah, well, that thing was off the charts on a character creator, but still.
I don't know if I want that much customization in my fantasy
I don't either.
game.
I don't either. I mean, you think they're kind of locking it down to kind of keep
like
the
Elder Scrolls. No, look, there goes the Juggalo.
Oh, there he is. Yes, there's Burn the Jug.
There's Baron the Juggalo in Cyrodiil.
Oh, there's Penis Mafia. There they go. Do you think they're doing that basically to keep the RP kind of value in, so everyone kind of really feels like they should belong inside of this world? They don't want things that kind of feel really outside of it, because I'm sure that's probably the goal.
I don't have a problem with it. I'm not bitching about it. You asked if I would have liked to have seen more, and that's exactly where I would have liked to have seen more. But all in all, I'm not disappointed with it. It does enough that you're not going to be disappointed. You're not likely to see 7 of you running by, which is a problem in a game of mine that I play, Final Fantasy, right? When you've played it too, the character customizer isn't there, and you see a lot of yourself, and then the gear doesn't help that either. You're not likely to see that in Elder Scrolls. There's just 1 or 2 extra little tidbits that I would have wanted.
All right, so let's talk about some stuff that really matters. So then you do your character creator. First thing you do, you get to the NPE, the new player experience, which in Elder Scrolls fashion starts you off as a prisoner, which you need to escape. I've really honestly, I have no problem with the NPE. It's nothing super exciting. I don't think it needs to be. It's here's how to do WASD. Here's how to wield a weapon. Here's how to block. It's teaching you all the little nuances of just the keyboard and that sort of thing.
Yep, and it's short.
And it's super short. Once if you go through it, like, in the first time around, listening to everything, what is it going to take you? Maybe 15, 20 minutes, and then if you're on a second character and you just click through stuff, you're talking like less than 5 minutes. You can probably blaze through this thing. So it does its job.
Yep.
What do you think of the graphics at this point? What do you think overall visually? Like when you get in there and you're in the prison, because that's your first it's the first actually moment that you really see that you're in there.
Yeah, we kind of started talking about this on Game Breaker last night, and we have a difference of opinion on where they're going with this. Obviously, it's not Skyrim or anything like that, but it can't be tech-wise. Is it close? Does it capture the feel and the spirit of the Elder Scrolls to me? That's what I was looking for more than graphical fidelity, right? Does this feel like Cyrodiil? Does this feel like Tamriel? I'd have to say yes. They did a nice job creating the environments that are consistent with that world. Quality, it's not quite Skyrim, but I'm okay with that. I understand. It's not distractingly bad or anything like that. I agree. 7 out of 10 type deal.
I pretty much agree. I pretty much say I completely agree with you. I mean, I think they really, right off the bat, kind of really capture the feeling of Elder Scrolls. I immediately felt like I was in an Elder Scrolls game. All the little nuances of the way the doors open in the hands, and just it worked.
And that was one of the things, like right off the bat, when you and I got into one of the very first beta weekends and we were playing it, we said, wow, I'm not quite sure on the rest of the game yet and how I'm feeling about it, but this feels like the Elder Scrolls universe.
Yeah,
and
which I didn't feel in an early build when I played it a long time ago at one of the conventions. I wasn't getting that vibe, and I've even gone back, in some of the areas that I've now revisited are the same areas that I had played, and I don't know if it's a matter of just they kind of like tweak the lighting engine and things like that to kind of give it more mood, but it feels like an Elder Scrolls game to me. Like it feels like it's in that world, which I really like. So NPE side, you get through that, it's pretty quick. Let's talk about you brought up the graphics fidelity, right? So I've got a crazy theory on this.
And Chad, I'm not saying the graphics are bad. They're very good. They're very good graphics. They're just not Skyrim. It's an important distinction. They're a step back.
But did you really ever expect that? Did you expect Skyrim?
No, not at all.
I mean,
not at all.
It's an MMO.
Understanding the tech for the two different games, there's no way I expected that. But it's an important distinction. That's all.
This is going to be one of those things that could come back and haunt me. That I'm going to say this, but I had this conversation with him.
Here we go again.
I've got this crazy theory.
It is crazy.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I admit it's crazy.
There's no
well,
way.
Okay, so everybody, a lot of people are kind of talking about the graphics and the fidelity of them. When you the game looks gorgeous when you're looking at like outdoor vistas and like open world stuff. It looks fantastic. Like the lighting looks really good. You roll up on like textures and things like that, and they sort of all of a sudden you look at them like really closely, and you're like, they break down a little bit and they don't look so awesome. Kind of like how Skyrim sort of was to some extent, right?
Yeah, even on Ultra, when you get super super close, it's not the greatest.
It doesn't look that great. It really doesn't. But now, ZeniMax have said that one thing that they want to do with the MMO is they want to fully support add-ons and mods as much as possible. You see where I'm going with this? If you go and look at the top downloaded mods, keeping Skyrim going to this day are pretty much graphical enhancements and mods. The 4K textures, the lighting changes, all the things that actually deal with graphics are at the top of the list of the most downloaded mods on Skyrim Nexus. Of course, there are the other ones. There's content ones, and there's other things like that, like map ones and UI things. All that stuff is there, yes. But still, one of the things that have kept Skyrim players playing for so long are the graphic mods. I have a crazy theory that they are going to actually allow people client side to change the graphic textures.
No way! I don't.
Why? Why
it would
do you
be
say no way?
amazing, right? I
Why?
don't disagree with you that it would be badass and super awesome if they did this. No doubt about it. But there's no way they're gonna open it up like
Give me
that.
a reason why. Just don't say they won't. Just tell me why. Like
There's
you just
no
keep saying
way.
they won't.
Yeah, they're not going
Okay.
to.
Okay, give me one reason. Give me one reason.
They're not. No.
That's not a reason. That's not good enough. Like
need
you,
a reason, Gannon.
it does need a reason. You need
No,
to
it
tell me
doesn't.
why. What would be the reason that they would not allow you to do it?
Can they do it? Of course.
I've asked a couple developers if it's
would
possible,
it be awesome?
and they
Yeah,
immediately
there's
kind
no
of like
reason
went,
it wouldn't be.
kind of a crazy idea, and I guess they could do it. Tell me why they wouldn't. Tell me, give me a reason why they wouldn't.
There's no way they do this.
That's
And in
not a
my-
reason, Michael
in
Byrne.
my-
Tell
I'm
me a
gonna
damn
give you-
reason.
Damn it! I'm gonna give you a reason. You can't. So much of this game is PvP dependent, right? It's a huge portion of the Elder
Mhm.
Scrolls Online. If you start giving players the ability to improve the performance and look of the game on their side,
Mhm.
then that gives them a distinct advantage over somebody that is not able to do that same thing, whether it's through computing power or the lack of knowledge on how to use a mod set or whatever. You can start creating distinct visual advantages, which will drastically hurt PvP. Just one example of, yes, you could do it, but you're not going to. You're gonna give away graphical clues on where different things in the environment are because somebody has rendered the game differently on their client.
Give me an example of that, because I'm thinking like there's a rock there, and it's got a texture. If a person could swap out that rock texture with a higher fidelity rock texture, what is that going to do different to your game?
Well, I'm not talking about the rocks and the textures on those things. When you start, you can't just open up the rock texture, right? If you're going to open up the graphic modding ability, then the entire graphic set is up for grabs, including markers, telegraphs, tells, all of those visual things that are happening that cause you to play interrupt, dodge, all of those things. That you can't just limit that to one, okay, we're going to let you change the rock texture. No, they're opening up the graphical API, so to speak. API, bad term, but most people will know what I mean. Opening that up opens up everything, including player markers, anything visual.
Now
I
you're
can't
talking
imagine them
player
being
markers.
able
You're
to
talking
limit
complete,
that.
it's a completely different mind. Why not? Why can't they not allow mods in on the PvP area? That can't be that hard.
See, I keep. Okay, so don't allow mods in the biggest
PvP.
land portion of the game.
Well, just in PvP. I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm just going. But here's the thing. I'm just like the reason I'm going down this hole is just because I'm saying like what gave Skyrim its longevity and why people are still playing it to this day
Okay,
and loving
here,
it.
how about if I do this, Gary?
They
Better
had to-
example.
They have to be
Better-
looking at it and going like,
is
wow,
crazy.
this is obviously an incredibly important aspect to the Elder Scrolls universe for gamers. They have to be looking at that. They'd be crazy not to.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna move on.
How
To be honest,
no. How about this? PvP, I don't care about character models. I'm going to reskin all character models that aren't mine in bright red.
what if they just, like I said, what if they don't allow it in PvP? Besides PvP, what would be the real clear advantage?
And then you're talking about performance issues with faster renders and things like that. You know, and you've talked about this before. People that are serious about PvP
They
shut
turn the
all that
graphics
shit
down.
down.
Yeah, but
They
that's
shut
that's
it
already
all
in the
down.
client. They do that.
So if I shut it
naturally.
all down and render players red, it's a freaking aim assist at that point. I just have to walk around and look for bright red.
Okay,
moving
so
blocks.
take it out of PvP.
How can you take it out of PvP and not take it out of everything else? It's a seamless world type thing.
I don't know. Anyway,
It would be super badass.
Here's the thing. I don't have the
do it.
problem with the graphics anyway. I don't want this conversation to even go down the road of people thinking that I think the graphics are bad because I think the game looks gorgeous.
Right, they're good.
Like
They're good.
it looks really good. Like much
Yeah.
better than I kind of expected them to look. All right. Forget that. I'll probably be eating my shorts one of these days, but
Burner right, great point. Great point. Make the texture on walls transparent. Now you can see people standing behind them when you shouldn't be able to.
Let's talk about the first starting. So after you do the NPE, you basically get to an island, and you start out on an island doing some quests. This has been kind of a topic of a lot of conversation amongst on the internet when people were allowed to start talking about this and open this up. And so do you feel that the first island
I can't believe
is
2 topics in, we're already fighting. Good God, this is going to be a long show.
That's why I said, what time do you have to leave? Let's get going. Do you feel like the first starter island is an extension of the NPE? Like, I'm struggling to actually figure out, like, I had fun on the island. I don't necessarily, like, hate the island. I think the quests are okay and they start getting you going, but I'm definitely struggling with trying to understand why the island is there. If that makes sense. Yeah,
this kind of, like, felt like Terra to me, right?
Why is the island there?
Everybody gets dropped off there. The islands are there to, I would assume, to give each alliance kind of a distinct and different feel when you start off. So you have different environment, different quests, different paths, and things like that. The problem is, to me, and to pretty much all of the internet, right? Just about all of the internet, is that the starting islands are just generic. There's nothing special about them. It's, oh, okay, go do your thing.
I kind of disagree a little bit. I mean, I actually.
Oh my God!
I played all 3 factions, and I gotta say, I really
There's
fell
only
in love with
one
the Dominion.
that I like.
Right, the Dominion.
Dominion.
Everybody agrees that it's like fantastic. It's great.
Yep. And it's because it's a smaller zone. The quests. Side note: the quests are written better. I think it's a more interesting storyline. But the island is smaller and things are more grouped together, so you don't have that long travel time that you feel in the other ones. I agree with you. Dominion has a distinct advantage as being the most entertaining of the 3 generic starting zones.
Here's the thing: a lot of people have been asking about my thoughts on the game and, like, what I think. And one of the first things I said to them was, I think and this is going to be a big question of how people react to this game, is that I feel like for gamers who are used to playing an MMO where they're very just like click through quests and do not want to get sort of invested in these stories, as small as they may be, and some of them are, side questy, mundane.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to go down that path of becoming invested in the stories, I don't know if you're going to have a great time. I personally love it though. Like,
yeah, the stories really, especially when you get off that island.
Yeah, especially on the Dominion side, when you get off that island, I feel like what they've done is they've really brought the RPG element back to the MMORPG. Like, they've really brought, like, that whole Dominion story when you're talking to the Queen and she's going to get assassinated, and you're like, trying to unfoil this plot. I was 1000% there. I was like, wow, this is a great story. I'm part of this. I'm unfolding this thing. This is really happening. And I really felt bad for and I talked to somebody I was chatting with this about, and they had played the Dominion but clicked through all its stuff and didn't even know that that's what was going on, and they didn't have a great time in the game. And I'm like, that's why. Like, so if you want to come at Elder Scrolls Online just with the mentality of, hurry up, give me my quest so it fills in my journal so I can go kill 10 things and come back and get a reward, don't know if you're going to have a great time.
Yep. And Giggleton's in chat says it the best. If you're a buzz-through clicker, Elder Scrolls Online isn't for you.
And I'm good with that. I'm loving that. That's why people they know I've been excited about the game.
This is how good the story is.
And this is exactly why I've been excited, because this is the exact reason. I'm just like, wow, I haven't been this invested. Like, I wanted to see how this story was going to keep progressing. Most other MMOs lose me really quickly. As soon as they start giving me these kill 10 rats quests, I'm just like, oh, more of this. See you later.
Yeah. And this is like, I remember one of the weekends, I think it was the second weekend beta we had, and you and I were playing for maybe like 2 hours, and then we said, okay, we're going to take a break. I was going to go eat, you were going to do whatever, and we're going to meet back at 8 o'clock. And I came back, and you were like, yeah, I had to continue the story. I'm 45 minutes ahead of you now. You son of a bitch.
I couldn't help it. But that makes for an interesting conversation. So that was one of the first
big problem
area
that we both agreed on.
And that's something, I think we still agree on it. I still don't really understand grouping in just the main world of questing, sort of that style of gameplay. So here's another scenario. The story was that, you know, Bern and I said, like, we had both played solo for a day. We were both like, wow, we're really liking this. And I said, all right, tomorrow I'll hit you up early. We'll both roll level 1 characters and we'll start from scratch and we'll play together. Like, I want to see what the game feels like playing together. And so we did that. We ran through the NPE. We got to the starter. As soon as we got to even the starter island, it was kind of confusing. Like, we you know, because some of us saw NPCs. You saw NPC. I didn't see an NPC because of the phasing technology. You had a quest to do something. I didn't. So we were just sort of like, all right, let's roll with it and let's go do X number quest. And we just kind of went and did it. It becomes more and more confusing as the more you play. So long story short, the flash forward, what was really funny was the story you just told about me jumping ahead of you when you had to go grab dinner. I wanted to actually,
and then that's when we were like, wow, this is getting really weird now that you're a little bit ahead of me.
Well, that's why I did it. I did it sort of on purpose, and like I'm hoping this changes later in the game. But I did it on purpose to sort of see, okay, we were sort of having a little bit of grouping issues, and we were the same level. Like we started at the same time. If I get out of sync with Bern for like, I don't know, a half hour or an hour, let's see how this works then. And what did we do? I had gone to the next island, and you had no way to get off the island.
I couldn't get there yet.
Right. So basically,
and even within just a quest, things got weird, right? I mean, we were doing a quest where we had to run to 3 different targets and touch an item at each of the 3 targets, and it was just weird seeing an MMO where me touching the item didn't trigger it for both of us. You know, I had to click it, watch, and then wait, and then you had to click it, watch, and wait, and then we could go. There was like little weird things that it probably will be worked out over time, but then those problems just kind of compounded as the phasing got very different.
But I kind of understand why they've had to go this route, though. Like you have to, so that you think. I don't want to get too deep in the dev seat for a second, but you know, you think about like the all of the things that people know about Skyrim and the franchise and things that they want, and then you think about the things that we've talked about for years. I mean, remember back in the day we were talking about Elder Scrolls Online, going, how do you create this epic adventure, which is normally a single player thing, which is very personal, now in this open environment? So they've had to have made some sort of changes and alterations of how things work, and this is probably one of them. So does the big question becomes, and again, does this open up later on? I don't know, but it sort of felt like it did everything really well except let me play with my friends, which is what an MMO is.
Yeah, so it was a bit odd.
We were having a hard time grouping, and I was like, this is an MMO, right? Now, here's the flip side. Do they want you to play this as sort of a single-player game? Because I've been playing a lot more of it as a single player in the past betas, and I still love it. I still really like the game, but I've been playing this as a single-player game.
Like right now, I'm having fun was having fun to the point that right now, just talking about it, I'm like, man, I would really like to jump in and play it right now. And come on, just release. I agree with you. From the solo aspect, I can understand why there may be a little push to do particularly a lot of the starting stuff solo, to give you that Skyrim-esque feel, that Elder Scrolls single-player feel. And then their grouping content, when you start hitting the dungeons, I think that's where they really, really want you to be playing together and doing the anchors in the real world and the big encounters in the real world. I don't think it's just not built right now to be friendly to you and I leveling characters together and doing the quests together. Is that a drawback or not? Not for me, but I can see it being a drawback for some.
What I'm mostly afraid of is the level of confusion it sets in, because we were literally
where you see like the player's marker on the ground.
Yeah, you literally see like
Gary
a player's marker
running. But not Gary. I can't.
But not in the world. But I just see like an arrow running around. I'm like, yeah. There's a level of confusion there, which I wish I could. So you leave the first island, which again, I really want to ask them what the purpose of the island is, because I don't fully understand it. I've been racking my brain, and I can go deep down geek hole, but part of me even thought about, is it a way to gate players on day one to some extent for flooding the mega server and having instances of it, so they have like a smoother transition? Like, I'm trying to think of it, because I don't understand what the reason of it is. Like, I don't know why that starting area just isn't connected to the rest of the world, and you just sort of, because it's the one thing people are complaining about, right? They're coming from Skyrim.
Yep.
They're expecting Skyrim, which I don't think you should, but it's going to happen anyway because it's an Elder Scrolls game. And you're like, I want to just be dropped in the world and just start walking off and doing things. And when you dropped in on an island, you quickly realize that I'm on an island, And then if you try and swim off that island, you get eaten by fish and you die very damn quickly. So they're confining you to that space, and people are like, why are we here? I'd love to know the answer of why they're doing it like that. Because I feel like a lot of people would be super happy if they just did that same experience, just have it attached to a landmass that if I really wanted to, I could just start running.
Yep.
And just let the mobs kill me. Just let the higher level mobs just kill me. That brings us to the second thing. So a lot of people are wondering about like why they can't just like roam off and go into like dungeons and stuff like that. Why do you think they're doing that? Like you find stuff early on, like if you've gone exploring, because you'll go off exploring and you will like find a dungeon and it'll be like, this is locked, or a door, this is locked. And that's
and that kind of hurt me, like in my Elder Scrolls heart, because that, if you want to gate me from content, I don't have a problem with putting the level 40 monster right outside the level 10 zone. Okay,
See,
at least I can see it, and I can kind of try it.
That's exactly what I'm wondering why they don't do, right? Like, why don't they use the mobs to gate the content instead of actually?
Yeah, there seems like an awful lot of locked doors, and to me that while they're trying to make this explore, and have that element to it, I mean, some of your the sky shards and things like that, some of your advancement depends on exploration to a certain extent. If that's the vibe you were going for, stop it with all locked damn doors. They're everywhere.
I guess the one thing I could think of, and I'm not sure of this, but you have to do this in play testing, is I do wonder if like, a full group of level 2s could then start like steamrolling into like higher level content and just completely, overlooking a ton of the content.
Well, I don't think you'd be able to do it with the dungeons, right? Because the dungeons are specifically catered to a four-man party. So you're not going to roll, I'm saying like some of those 52s.
I'm saying just some of those like just those explorable sort of like random places that you want to sort of find. I wonder if it's because I don't know. I think there's a couple of things. Like I said, I think the two big sticking points for Elder Scrolls Online, whether you're going to like this game or not, is one, we talked about whether you're going to like get invested in the quest or not. And the second one is if you're going into trying to just keep comparing this game to Skyrim, and every single nuance and mechanic, you just go like, but Skyrim did this, and I want this. And Skyrim did this, and I want this. If that's all you're going to do, again, you're not going to like this game. It is an MMORPG through and through. There's no doubt about it.
Nothing else to say.
I love the quests.
Can I ask you, though, since you brought that up, it is an MMORPG, and I know this may be jumping ahead. We got a couple more items to cover in our chain here. But do you think, playing it for the amount of time that you did, does this game hit the Skyrim player, or does it hit the MMORPG audience better? Because that's been a big point, is which side does this cater to, and does it cater to either? Is either side going to like it? Do you think it caters to one more than the other?
To be honest, I think it might actually cater better to the Skyrim player.
Really?
Yeah, mainly because I feel like the Skyrim player, since it's a single-player game, some people do rush through, but people do sort of get invested in those stories and going off on those journeys. And you're kind of like, you talk to somebody and they sort of tell you about something. They're like, go off to this place. And you're like, I am setting off on this journey to go do this. And you become invested in that. Whereas the MMO player of 2014 is click, 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 ADD, click, 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 like don't care about anything, click, 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 gotta get to end game, click, click, click. And that's where I think it actually may be, I think it may be more the Skyrim player, because I don't know if the MMO play, it's not very in vogue in 2014 to have an MMO that's very heavy on story.
And maybe this is a good thing, but chat thinks it's pretty split. There's people saying more to MMO and more to Skyrim with some MMO elements, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it means ZeniMax hit exactly the target they needed to, right down the middle, and try and cater to both sides as much as you can.
You seem surprised by my response.
I am surprised by your answer, because I think it slightly favors the MMO crowd.
So?
Yes, it does have the Elder Scrolls vibe. Yes, it does have the single-player, for lack of a better term, single-player storyline tracing through it. But I think ultimately, when you get off of those starting islands, this is very clearly an MMO. And it's made to be played by large groups of people and parties and PvP in massive cases. The beginning, I think, sets it up more for the Skyrim player. But as you get deeper into it, I think it caters more to the MMO audience overall. based on every piece of content that's there after the beginning levels.
But what do you think about
But
2014 having an
chat's
MMO
pretty
of?
divided.
What do you think about, like, you know, the type of person an MMO player is? I mean, do you think MMO players want? I feel like in its storytelling aspects, I got almost a little old school. I love it.
It is.
I actually like it, and I'm glad they
Yep.
went this way. Believe me, I am saying it's a positive thing. But is it what people really want? Is it what MMO players really want in 2014? I mean, here's a funny comparison, right? You got two ways to think about this. You got three big releases coming out in 2014, right? One's an expansion, Draenor. Let's just leave that off to the side. It's already what it is. But let's talk about Elder Scrolls, a brand new MMO. You've got WildStar, right? And they're going at it from completely different angles because the quests in WildStar are limited to something like 140 characters, like Twitter. Because obviously their philosophy being like MMO players just click through all of this stuff, do not give two shits about what we have to say and just want to do the quest. And now you've got Elder Scrolls completely on the opposite angle going like, we're going to write like these really in-depth Elder Scrolls stories, which they have to do because that's the franchise. But interesting that you've got one or the other. So you're going to have like a lot of dividing people. That's why you're going to have people in chat room going right now being like, WildStar, WildStar, WildStar. People are going SO, SO, SO. Like it's going to be a very dividing line of what you like.
Oh, by the way, EverQuest Next is on the horizon.
We don't know anything about that, though. What do you think? All right, what do we want to talk about next? What do you want to hit on next?
I think we should go into combat. Since we're talking about questing, let's go into fighting.
All right. Well, let me really quick. We gotta take a break and you know talk about the sponsor. So let's do that. We're going to talk about combat. So very happy to have Warby Parker on as a sponsor of This Week in MMO and Game Breaker. If you guys have not checked it out, warbyparker.com/gamebreaker is where you want to go. They sell men's and women's eyeglasses online. I know what you're thinking. Why would I want to go online to buy my glasses? That's not something I want to purchase online. I want to go to the store. I want to try them on. I want to see what they feel like. I want to see the quality of the frames. I want to see how they feel on my face. I get it. Just listen up. So first of all, you go to Warby Parker. This is how the whole experience works. You go to warbyparker.com/gamebreaker. You sign up, you make an account. Then you start looking through their glasses. They have a virtual try-on where you take a picture of yourself, you take a photo of yourself with your webcam, puts it in there, and you can try all of these different glasses on right online to see what you look like. So first of all, you get a good look of what you may look good in. Then you pick 5 pair of glasses that you like, 5 pair. It's called the Home Try-On Kit. They literally send you, in a few days, a box. It's a nice little box. It's Warby Parker. With the 5 pair of glasses that you picked online right here. Whoa, dropping them. All to try on and keep for a few days. And they're all clear glasses. They're not the prescriptions, obviously. But you get to just keep them at your house, try them on, see what they look like, see, try the different frames. I actually like these. These might be a pair to pick up. I'm probably going to pick up more than 1 pair, actually. But out of the 5, like I ordered 1 pair that I couldn't tell online. We're a little too small for my face. The frames just weren't really right, which is great. Why you get to try them on. So you try them on, you wear them for a couple days. Maybe, as Byrne pointed out, you try them on with your headset, maybe see how they feel and things like that. If you're gaming, so you wear them for a couple of hours, wear them throughout the day. And then you tell them your prescription and they ship you back your prescription glasses. Now get this, a couple things. First of all, you don't pay for shipping for this thing to your house or back to Warby Parker. They send you the return shipping, so you don't have to pay for that at all. They send you the return slips, you stick this thing back in the mail, and it goes back to them. Our deal, just for Game Breaker people, this is only for Game Breaker people, you're also going to get free 3-day shipping on your glasses, on your prescription glasses. So that is a deal only by going to Warby Parker/GameBreaker. Third thing, they're so affordable. Frames with lenses start at like $95. There's a few pair that are a little more expensive than that on some of the limited edition stuff. Most of them are $95. And the quality, Byrne, what's the quality like? I mean, you've got a box there too, don't you?
I do. I need to send in and get my actual prescription ones now. But
which
I'm
ones
going to
are
have
you
to throw
getting?
some things on Twitter. I don't know. I'm going to throw a couple on Twitter when I get back from the theater tonight, and we'll let some people weigh in. I've probably dropped. I think, did I hear you just drop one, by the way?
I dropped 2 pair, yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of beat the hell out of these, actually. These little test ones, because I wanted to see exactly how durable they were. They're really high quality. I've spent probably $300 to $400 on glasses, very, Oakleys and expensive stuff like that, and these are right up there as far as the quality goes. Look at it. See, look at that.
Oh, wow.
snaps right back into place. I mean, they're nice.
Let's see those on you.
Want these ones on me? These are the dark
right.
ones. These give me the mysterious look.
I like those. Which ones are? I don't know which ones those are.
And then I was like, I'm gonna go hog wild and get some ridiculous colored ones and see how those.
Oh, you have the colored ones. Nice. The blue ones. Nice. I mean, that's the funny thing. At $100 with lenses, $95 with lenses,
yeah.
You can pick up a couple pair. I mean, for normally you spend like $300-400. You can buy 3-4 pairs. You buy a summer pair. You buy like a whatever. I like these. Yep. These are the Owens. I think these. I'm definitely gonna get these all black matte Owens. I like these. I'm probably gonna pick up 2 pair. Check it out. So last up, if that wasn't enough, this is such an awesome thing that Warby Parker does. I love this. For every pair of glasses that you purchase, or anyone purchases for that matter, they give a pair of glasses to somebody in need. And that is just super, super cool. 500,000 pairs of glasses have been distributed to people in need. That is just so cool. So you buy a pair, they give a pair away. I love it, love it, love it. Check it out today. This is an exclusive deal only for people, for fans of Game Breaker. Get free 3-day shipping on your prescription glasses. Go to warbyparker.com/gamebreaker. Go check it out. Go over. It's fun. Click around. Look at yourself with some glasses. Order some pair. I should say, by the way, that there's no obligation if you do the home try-on kit that you have to buy a pair of glasses. Nothing like that. There's no obligation. Like if you don't like any of them, you can just send them the box back. I guarantee you, when you get them in your hand, especially if you're an eyeglass wearing person, you put them in your hand, you're gonna be like, wow, I can't believe how good these are. I'm buying a pair. So check it out. warbyparker.com/gamebreaker. All right, let's talk about some combat.
Woot woot!
Combat. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start at let's start at like melee classes. Let's just start like let's go in broad strokes.
You want to divide it that way and just kind of paint broad brushes? All right.
Well, I think it's a very different experience to some extent.
It is a really big, different experience.
So what do you think about the melee combat? How does it feel?
If you're looking for Skyrim combat, again, making that comparison, right? What's the combat like? I think melee may end up a little disappointed here. Skyrim has a very get in there and hit the hell out of something, and just it's very brutal as far as melee goes when you compare it to Elder Scrolls Online, which is a bit more strategic, particularly on the melee side. It's not to say that the combat's bad. I do enjoy it, but if you're looking for Skyrim, not quite on the melee class. That being said, is there really a melee class in this game, given the skill sets and the way that they swap
you're right. That's
all
true.
around?
That is kind of true. I guess what we're really talking about is we're talking about sword, like two-handers, one-handers, like how physical weapons feel, in combat hitting objects. Let's put it.
Yeah,
that way.
if you want to run in there with a sword and a shield
hammer,
or 2 swords and hack away, you might be a little disappointed if you're looking for that very visceral clang type feel from Skyrim.
Let's be honest though, we've talked about this, man. Skyrim combat with a sword ain't so freaking great. It wasn't. It's not that good. Go back and play it. It's not awesome.
It's not, but Elder Scrolls feels a little floaty, doesn't it?
It feels I think that one of the biggest reasons it feels a little because you go through it. You have to go through the mob.
Right.
Like there's no collision, which is but you can't really get around that with an MMO. I know you're going to tell me you can, but it would be a disaster. It would be a nightmare in a game like this for them to do any sort of collision.
Oh my God, we agree on something.
Yes.
Collision in Elder Scrolls would be a nightmare.
It would be a complete nightmare.
Especially with the high population PvP.
Mm-hmm.
It would be a nightmare.
I do think that and I can't put my finger on it, I'm not a dev. I do think, that being said, it could be dialed in a little bit better. There's something that just could feel better. And I don't know if it's just that or not. I don't mind it though. It really depends. So I have really mixed reactions. Let's just jump around with them. So I had really mixed. I really liked Sword and Board. I actually really liked one shield and a one-hander. I liked it. I didn't love a two-hander. Two-handed sword, that sort of thing.
I agree. The two-hander was actually downright disappointing to me.
And I don't know why, but just felt the least sort of responsive to me. But I guess it's supposed to be heavier than that. Loved love Sorcerer. Loved it.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely my class. I like ranged classes, but I think it feels really good. Like spells feel like they're hitting your objects. Like there feels like there's an oomph to it. I felt really powerful. I think it's actually really dialed in really well.
I did like casters. I did like playing the casters. Did you mess around with ranged bow attacks or anything like that?
Bow has to be my absolute least favorite. They need it's. Now here's another question. You think so basically what I don't like about it is it's plink 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 plink, just keep hitting the button over and over and over and over and over. It doesn't feel even remotely close, and I don't want to make the Skyrim comparison, but it doesn't feel like that bow, or it doesn't feel like anything like a real bow. It's just odd. And
again, it hasn't been optimized. Optimization still isn't finished and everything like that. So some of the animations look a little off too. But I'm sure that will get cleared up. But bow by far was the one I did not like the most, and I know which is disappointing because I do like playing bow classes in Skyrim and other Elder Scrolls games.
A lot of people do. Some people kind of brought it in saying, well, maybe it's going to feel different as you progress through the game and you level up and you get better bows and things like that, and maybe things like pulling back on the string are going to feel different. If that's the case, I don't know. But even if that's the case, I think they need to make the darting bow feel a bit better than it does. Because the overall impression, the first second you pull back on it and like fire it, you're just like, oh, okay. Probably my least favorite. What are you going to roll though? You going to go with Sorc? I'm going with it.
I'm going to go Source. Yeah.
There's going to be so many sorcerers online.
So many Dominion sorcerers.
There's going to be a lot. Best story, best. Do you hate? What do you think of the combat system and the abilities, and morphing and all of that stuff?
So like the skill sets that go with the weapons. I really like them actually, especially Source. When we first saw the morphing thing announced, I thought that's really cool. I get this ability at level 1, but by level X, it becomes something different. Maybe it's just a different type of proc. But they've really expanded those out. It's not morph it to this and it'll do 3% more damage, morph it to this and it'll do 1% more damage, but it will put a slow on them. I mean, there's some like that, but then there's some really vastly different morphing that you can. I found myself in the last beta weekend sitting there looking at one or two, trying to sit there and decide which one I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Where in most games, most MMOs that we've played, it's very easy decision. Do I want? No, I want this one. Okay, I don't even have to read the other one. This is the one I want. I actually felt like I had to make a decision, which was really, really cool on the abilities. I really like Elder Scrolls skill progression system as a whole, from top to bottom.
I do.
Yeah.
I think it so far what I've seen of it's one of my favorites. I love the morphing of the abilities and stuff. And that stuff doesn't open up till later, and I can't even imagine, again, how it starts really building out once we get even higher level. This is all low-level content. I think you and I got a little bit farther than most of the press videos and things and commentary that we saw a week ago, which is what was driving us nuts, I think, because it looked like, from what I could tell, that most of those people got to about level 4 and 5. But we're able to, I think, talk to, I mean, we're going to, I think, get into more specific content stuff in a different episode, but this is kind of the general overview. But I think we're allowed to speak now up to level 15, which at the time, none of those people had really gotten to.
Right. Yeah. So, and it's unfortunate, right? I mean, they didn't do themselves any favors here with the way the beginning of the game is created, because it's that MMO thing that we all hate to hear. Well, Gary, the game gets totally different when you hit level 12. Or it gets totally different when you hit level 20. And I hate hearing that, and it's ugh. But it's vitally true in this game, and it's unfortunate that in a beta weekend you're unlikely, especially with wipes, that you're unlikely for the most part to get there, and so all the press has been these beginning zones, which are generic. And let's be honest, that starts opening out.
But the beginning first impression thing, we brought this up on a previous episode, and I brought up the whole Skyrim comparison again, and you kind of said to me, "Oh, but remember in Skyrim you've got that big epic dragon thing, and
right
that's
off the
epic."
bat.
But it's all a cutscene. That's all an in-game cutscene that basically just plays out, which is not.
Yeah, but within
it's not in the beta
20,
yet, though. It's not in the beta
20
yet.
Minutes, Within 20 minutes of that cutscene running through the town, the dragon's blowing everything up, you're fighting your first dragon out at the light tower or whatever the thing is right outside of town. That's within 20 to 30 minutes of Skyrim. You are
True.
fighting a dragon.
True.
How cool is that? You know, I just wanted something more. It's just generic. And they're killing themselves with that. Because that's going to be... You have that initial starting experience to justify the box purchase and the sub. More importantly, the sub. And it doesn't do itself any favors to get you hooked to want to play the sub unless you have taken some time to do research or you watch a show like this and you know what comes after that and how the game really starts to open up after that and become something more. If you don't take the time to do that research, the game by itself isn't doing a terribly great job of hooking you for that sub off the bat. And that's dangerous if you're going to be
well, that's a question.
Game.
I mean, that's something we'll get to a little bit, like even talking about that stuff. Because again, we haven't seen like anything past like, level apparently 15 is all we get. I haven't even gotten that high, but all right, what's next on the list, though? So we both like the skill sets, skill system abilities. We've gone through character creation, graphics, combat, skills. Did you do much crafting? Did you do much crafting? I did not do a lot of crafting, but I honestly didn't either. But all I can say is that I've heard people who are crafters that I'm friends with love the crafting system and think it's probably...
And it seems like it's going to be right up your type of alley where crafters are able to do best in slot type stuff.
Right.
And then not only that, crafting always seems viable because you can find crafters to modify and upgrade weapons that you have. So it seems like the crafting system encourages an in-game crafting economy where you're going to constantly be looking for crafters of various types to upgrade things that you have. So the blacksmithing video that they showed, okay, it was cool and showed some of the different things. I'm looking forward to that system. Because I think it's going to encourage.
It seems like a very robust and a complicated, robust system, which is nice. I think
it feels like they're always in need, and that's something that is lacking in a lot of MMOs. When you get to max level, I don't care about crafting. I'm going to go raid and get the gear. This seems like crafters are always viable and always on. People are always looking for them.
So let's get. I mean, we touched a little bit on it, but let's talk a little bit more about the questing and just we can jump into like the 3 different factions and that sort of thing. We're obviously both in agreement that it was funny because when you and I had our first beta weekend together, after it was over on a Monday, we jumped on Mumble together, and I was like, man, I think I might be crazy, but I was like, I feel like there's just one faction that just like kind of really blows the other 2 out of the water. And you're like, I was thinking the same thing. Like it's so much better. And it's like, dare I say it almost feels like different teams wrote the different storylines completely, because the Dominion side is just the Dominion. It's Wildstar. But it's so intriguing and hooks you right from the beginning that you don't feel like you're just doing like kill 10 rats like style quests. You don't feel like you're doing just like mundane help quests for like random people in the world. And the other factions kind of feel like that a little bit. Like you're kind of just doing like random shit for people. Like
it's not even close either.
It's not even close, right?
No, it's not. And that's, again, another general consensus across the internet. Go look at Angry Joe's videos. He says the same thing. His first video was, okay, this is so mild MMO. His second video, when he got into PvP, was like, I need to tell you guys, I played Dominion, and it totally changed my PvE experience. We'll talk about it later. And every other outlet is kind of saying the same thing, which now kind of gets us into the question of, is it really fair to be giving away races in collector's editions? And if you pre-order, allowing you to roll in different alliances?
Yeah, I mean, I still don't. We could unpack that another. I still don't understand that move, and I don't understand how that's going to feel, especially because when you talk to NPCs in the world, as far as questing goes, they reference races a lot, and I don't see that dialogue changing, which is going to be odd. It's just going to be like a total discrepancy in how it speaks to you, and it's just going to be like, it's going to be odd. I don't get that. That being said, though, You could make the argument that, not the argument, but it could be that the 3 different factions are tuned and written in a way that do cater to different types of gamers. And you and I just kind of really fell in love with the storyline of that style of a quest. Because I could see some of the other factions, like you just kind of clicking through stuff and going through stuff. It might really, other gamers might really like that feel. Where I really wanted to be invested. I wanted to go nice and slow through the story.
I totally disagree. I think the other 2 are just bad. I don't think they're catering to a different play style or a different Elder Scrolls fan or anything. I think they're just bad. And I don't know if it's maybe Dominion was the one they did first, and so they put a lot of time into it and got the templates, and then just bam, tried to duplicate. Who knows what the development cycle looked like and why it is better, but it's just clearly better. The other 2 are very, very weak. And you know what? One of the things that might be factoring into this is that the starting zones in the other ones are bigger. And so you get that it's a walking simulator, which we've heard a lot on the internet, feel in the starting zones right off the bat. So maybe it has to do with just the size of the island, but to me, the writing's better, the environment is better. I can't go with you. I think the other 2 are they're just worse. It's not catering to a different play style.
Something else I really love about their new system, tell me what you think about this, is there's people who are mixed on this. One is the pacing of the leveling and the questing, which feels to some extent slower than your average MMO. Again, I personally love it. I think it's great. I actually enjoy the pacing of the game a lot. Second thing that kind of adds to that is I really love how they're using the phasing technology of giving you a quest, and not necessarily having you just like go do something, run back to that person and get like some sort of loot. There's a lot of larger overarching like quests that lead into other quests that lead into other quests, and then all of a sudden here's that NPC that you met like on the other side of this like island or continent now next to you, and you're meeting back up, and it's kind of like coming to a head. I thought it was just much more of an immersive way to tell a story, and I've got really much more like involved in the quest line rather than just it was like, go kill this, come back to me, I'll give you this. Go kill this, come back to me, I'll give you this. It didn't feel like that. I really felt like I was kind of going out and exploring and having a journey.
Yeah, and I noticed that in, like, when I play other MMOs, Final Fantasy comes to mind. SWTOR is another one at this point, I can remember distinctly doing this. World of Warcraft, of course. I very much am involved in the main story, right? That main storyline that goes through, and I'm reading that or listening to the dialogue and paying very close attention to that, getting involved in the story, and then just fast-clicking through every side quest in those types of games. And I didn't notice until a few hours after playing that I wasn't clicking through quests, because none of them felt like side quests to me.
Yes.
You're dead on. They felt like natural extensions and maybe little side paths, but coming back to the main story. They all felt interconnected. Yes. We said it at the same time. We actually freaking agree on something.
We are only talking about the Dominion, though.
Right. Only the one faction.
Let's talk about exploration a little bit. So a lot of thing I'm hearing about is like, there's nothing to explore. There's nothing to like, it feels very much on rails. It feels very linear. It feels like very much like an MMO to some extent. I would say some people are, that definitely has some validity to it. But I do think there's some videos out there. If you could see some references, and you could even find some other stuff where I think there is, again, this is even in really lower levels, and I can only imagine this is going to open up even more and more, that there is some interesting stuff to be seen in the Elder Scrolls Online that is not smack dab in your face. Here's a quest, go do this. But you have to look for it. So one particular thing, going into things like taverns, the inn, and start speaking to NPCs who don't necessarily have quests. Do absolutely, if you find the right ones, open things up on your map and guide you into go to places that there's no quest. There was nothing else pointing. You have to literally just start clicking on like random people in the inn and start talking to them. And even little things. I mean, most people may have found this. I don't know. Maybe they haven't. I forget what faction it is. What's the faction that starts off in kind of the sandy desert area? I don't remember. That's anyway.
Oh, Ebonheart?
Yes, Ebonheart. You can go, there's a shipwreck way on the outskirts of the edge of the island. and I found a bottle with a note inside of it, and the note basically gave me like 10 clues to find some buried treasure on the island.
Yeah, that was a cool quest. Ironically, has nothing to do with the story or anything, but was a decent quest in that zone. And it wasn't the thing that impressed me the most about that particular quest, and I hope to see more of that stuff. Oh yeah, X, you're right. I'm sorry, it's Daggerfall. Is that they weren't easy clues.
I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it.
You had to think about it. You're like sitting there reading it, and then you're spinning your camera around, just kind of looking around at the environment, right? You're just looking at the lay of the land. Then you're trying to find yourself. I can't see. Let me find a higher vantage point and just look around for a little bit until I see what might be the solution. It wasn't very direct clues. So yeah.
So that's why
I hope to see a lot more stuff like that.
And that's why a part of me goes like, wow, like people are complaining about like the exploration and like finding some cool stuff. And I was like, but I started combing that first starter island. But again, mostly because I'm not the type of MMO player just blaze through content. Like I wasn't trying to just get off the island. Like I wanted to see what was on there and like look for stuff. And that's what I found. And then I found this thing and it was like, it was racking my brain. I was like, it gave you like 6-7 clues that pertain to like large geographical things on the map where you had to like, you know, go 10 paces here, go northwest of here once you find this point. But they were very different. Did you find it? Did you actually unearth it?
I did. I did actually. And at first, what's funny is like you're trying all kinds of different things, right?
But I'm looking at chat room and it's somebody. Lewis says here, you spend hours trying to figure out where they are. Like that's
the treasure maps are really cool.
And I think that's like some cool stuff like that. People are so like, I think a lot of people missed a lot of these things on that first beta.
I'm sitting there just tapping the W key, counting paces. I'm like, well, maybe they actually mean 40 paces. Let's try this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, I dig the treasure maps, and those are the things that if you don't explore, you flat aren't gonna find. Period.
Nope.
You're not gonna find it. There's nothing that sends you in that general vicinity so that you would find it because you were following the main quest line. If you aren't out just exploring, you aren't finding that. Period.
Now I'm going out on a limb here and just going to say, like, if they're seeding that stuff at level 2 on the first newbie island, I have to imagine that there's more and more of that going out throughout the game as you level up, right? I mean, we've all heard also that after you go off this first island, you kind of get to a second island again, which is kind of like, oh, really? Like it's like it feels like almost like another starter island. And I got to agree. I forget what video I was watching. Somebody commentate on it, and he was spot on. It was that the reason I have a slight issue with these islands is I can't, like I said, I'm trying to figure out, like, is it tech reason? Like, what's the reason to put us on these islands? Because after the NPE, you're on these islands, and I don't mind what I'm doing on them, but for some reason, I do feel like I'm confined to them, and I don't understand. I'm not learning anything at that point. Like, the NPE isn't extended. Like, it's not like I'm learning anything new while I'm there. Or at least it doesn't feel like I am. Like, now I just feel like I'm in the game and I'm off and going. So I don't understand what the restriction is for. I doubt they're gonna change any of this stuff by now. Like this is
the stuff that's done. Yeah.
All right, what's next on the list?
I mean, the UI is nice. I dig the UI. PvP just kind of looks okay to me, but
hang on. Let's talk about some of that stuff. Hang on. I gotta stop for a quick break. For another sponsor, but let's talk about some of that stuff because there are some other things that we need to talk about here. I definitely want to thank Audible for sponsoring This Week in MMO. I want to hook you guys up with a free 30-day trial and a free audiobook just by going to audible.com/gamebreaker. And if you guys are getting excited for Elder Scrolls, especially from watching this show, I know you are, they have some of the Elder Scrolls series on Audible. So you definitely should check these out. The Infernal City, Elder Scrolls, Book 1 and 2. Let's take a listen to Book 1 really quick.
Yes. I saw an Oblivion Gate open once, she said. When my father worked in Leaween, I saw things. It feels a little like that. But Martin's sacrifice, they say it can't happen again, and it doesn't look like a gate. It wasn't shaped like a thunderhead, Ifech realized, more like a fat cone, point down. Another wind was starting up, and on it something unbelievably foul. It doesn't matter what it is, he said. Not to us. And a few instants later, it didn't.
Check it out, check it out, check it out! Get excited for the Elder Scrolls Online. Check out some of the Elder Scrolls series right on Audible, and one of these could be absolutely free to you just by going to audible.com/gamebreaker. Go over, sign up, grab the app for your iPhone, your Android, your Kindle Fire, whatever you got. They got an app for it. Pick it up, and you get one free book and a free 30-day trial. So check it out. Grab one of the Elder Scrolls books. Have
you seen what that Whisper Sync feature?
Oh, tell me about that.
So Whisper Sync, it's not on all Audible books yet, but it'll flag it if it is. If you buy a book or get a book through your membership on Audible that has Whisper Sync, and you also have the Kindle version of the book, you can sit there and read it on the Kindle, and then, oh, you got to go cook dinner, you don't have to set it down. You can just click it, and it will start reading. You'll start hearing the Audible read through where you stopped reading. Yeah, I talked about that. I think it was on UDSP or whatever it was. Yeah, really cool feature.
Oh,
and then when you're done making dinner, just pick it up, hit it, the Audible voiceover will shut off, and you can start reading again.
Oh, that is super cool. Book 1 in the Elder Scrolls series is Whisper Sync for voice ready. It says it right there. Yeah, that is awesome. I'm gonna check that out. 8 hours and 33 minutes. Get your Elder Scrolls lore on. Check it out. Check it out. Check it out. Audible.com/gamebreaker. All right, let's talk about let's cover the UI really quick. I'm seeing mixed reactions in the chat room about the UI. I love the UI. I love it. Oh my God, thank you for not effing up my UI and giving me there is basically almost no UI. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Burns going to disagree with me.
I like the streamline approach where the screen is very, very sparse as far as information goes. I hate the menu system. With the exception of crafting, that one's okay. The inventory, the bags, I hate it. It's like flipping through 900 menus to get to any specific item, and until you get used to it, get comfortable with having to look for things for a while. I like the sparseness of the combat UI, where it's just a couple of bars and the party members. Okay, great. And how the action bar fades in and out, right? So whether you're using it or not, that's
Love
cool.
that.
But I don't like the compass and the map aren't very good. I don't like any of that stuff. It's not user friendly in my book at all.
I have no problems with any of that stuff. None of it ever once annoyed me. Like, I never got frustrated with it. It felt so at home. The compass, especially coming from Skyrim, absolutely just felt like that's exactly what it needs to be, and that's all it should be. I mean, what are you looking for?
Damn mind.
What are you looking for? Because I see people going like, oh my God, where's my mini map and all this other stuff? Like, no, those are MMO things. I don't want those. I don't want those things. I don't want that. You want a mini map? Really?
I don't care about a mini map. I'm not saying that it needs to be there, but if it's not going to be there, please make the map a little more functional. The map was, you spend 30 seconds pulling up the map trying to find where you're at in some cases if you're in a goofy little area with a bunch of stuff. It's not a good UI. And go try to look for something in your bags. For God's sake, there's like 7 tabs.
Add on. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh,
Add on.
Crying out loud. Yeah, they're going to fix that too.
Come on, the Skyrim map kind of sucks until you get better maps for Skyrim. Like better maps with roads.
Why do I have to depend on an add-on community to fix features in the game that aren't user-friendly?
It's part of the game, bro.
No, it's not part of the game, you silly son of a... No way! I'm doing the map wrong. I don't care if I'm doing the map wrong. So ZeniMax.
I really never had a problem with that. I never felt frustrated like opening up my map looking for stuff, which you open it up a lot, just as you do in Skyrim. You do reference the map a lot, but I never felt like annoyed by it. Like it felt at home, because I find myself doing that constantly in Skyrim. Like in that game, you constantly are looking at the map because you're just getting lost and things like that. And that's just like a normal thing to me. I sort of feel like if they made some MMO-esque mini map or overlay transparent map that I could see like while I'm running, like that's just so MMO-ish. Like, I don't think I want that.
Man, if this was Final Fantasy that we were talking about, and I had the nerve to say, oh, well, that'll be fixed in an add-on, you would be cussing me out. You would be cussing me out. Don't depend on add-ons. And if you have to, then there's something wrong. There's something wrong. The menu system is a mess. It's not good.
I don't mind the menu system. All right, let's talk about for the last topic today because we got to wrap this thing up. Are you good? How long you got?
Yeah, good point, Narnan. It's a console UI, so this probably has a lot to do with it. Yeah, I had a brain fart there. You're probably right.
What's our ETA on show? Because I know you got to get.
I got like 5 minutes.
All right, 5 minutes. Let's talk about. So the one thing that everybody's still talking about, which we don't really have much to commentate on because neither of us have really seen it, is everybody's questioning the sub for this game, the subscription. And but again,
good place to end it.
I don't think it's getting a fair shake only because no one really knows. Like no one knows what the end game is going to be like. So we've just gotten to see some PvP right towards the end of the last press release thing. And I got to say for a lot of people, like the consensus seemed like most people actually really enjoyed it. It looks for people who play Dark Age of Camelot, it kind of looks like a nice cross between like some Dark Age ideas and some Guild Wars 2 stuff. It looks like a lot of fun. I have not gotten to play any PvP whatsoever. Zero. Have you?
Yeah.
You have?
I actually like it. I'm generally not a PvP guy. I'm not good at it. You know, I'm bad at PvP.
What did you like about it? Well, what kind of stood out for you?
It was large scale. And you and I talked about this in regards to another game yesterday when we were talking about Titanfall, how we're not Call of Duty type people. We don't like the tunnel, but we like that big open battlefield. Mm-hmm. This does it really, really, really well. And yes, there are some issues with travel times, and I'm hoping that they'll work things out with the teleport system to make it a little less walky. But just the sheer size of PvP.
Tell me about like the actual PvP, like the combat, like what you're doing, and how does that all feel?
It feels great. I mean, the combat system feels the same. I mean, there's no difference as far as technical specs. Working together to take these small nodes around keeps, like you can't just take a keep, right? You've got to take out like the farm and the other things around the keep to weaken the keep itself, because they'll be funneling resources. For instance, the gate is stronger if this resource is still here. So you take it out to weaken the gate, weaken the walls by taking this out, weaken the soldiers and the NPCs, because it's not just me against you, Gary. If you have the keep, if your faction has the keep, it's you, a bunch of real people, and a bunch of NPCs that are in this keep. And the NPCs get bonuses and changes based on the resources that are feeding the keep. So us trying to take it over, there's a real incentive to take out those side targets, not just go for the big keep and get it over with and move on. There's a real valuable incentive to take out these smaller targets, divide our group of 15 to 20 people into smaller groups and go take smaller targets, and then we'll meet at the keep and take it. It feels really, really good. I want to get more involved in it because the Emperor thing intrigues me, although I'll never be an Emperor. But yes, I actually like the PvP.
We have so much more to talk about with Elder Scrolls Online. We'll be talking about much more in the future. So Mike Byrne, follow him on Twitter at MagicMan, MIGACKMANN1.
Game Breaker Nation peeps, go apply. The ESO Guild faction is up for vote right now.
GameBreakerNation.com is the place you want to go. Go check it out. Follow me at Gary Gannon. Follow GameBreaker TV, GameBreaker TV. Go over to Facebook.com/GameBreaker TV and all that good stuff. Have a great weekend. And can't wait for the next ESO beta weekend to open up so we can play some more and chat some more about it. We'll see you next week for some more of This Week in MMO.